Beatrice Sterling thought she had crafted the perfect revenge. She didn't just want her son Liam to marry a billionaire heiress. She wanted to destroy the poor girl he used to love. With a cruel smile, she mailed a wedding invitation to his ex-girlfriend, Sarah, expecting her to crumble in shame while watching Liam at the altar. But Beatrice made a fatal miscalculation. Sarah didn't arrive broken. She didn't arrive alone. When the church doors opened, Sarah walked in with 2 children who wore Liam's face, and a secret that would turn the wedding of the century into a battlefield. The envelope was made of heavy, cream-colored cardstock, embossed with gold leaf that shimmered under the chandelier light of the Sterling Estates drawing room. Beatrice Sterling ran a manicured finger over the calligraphy. It was perfect. It screamed wealth, status, and exclusion. Beatrice did not like loose ends, and to her, Sarah Miller was a loose end that needed to be burned. 3 years ago, Sarah had been the barista who dared to capture the heart of Beatrice's only son, Liam. Sarah was sweet, intelligent, and fiercely independent, traits Beatrice despised because they made Sarah difficult to control. Beatrice had spent 6 months making the girl's life a living hell until Sarah finally vanished one rainy Tuesday in November without even a goodbye note. Now, Liam was marrying properly. Chloe Kensington was the daughter of an oil tycoon, a merger that would secure the Sterling legacy for another century. But Beatrice wasn't satisfied with just winning. She wanted to gloat. "Are you sure about this, Mother?" Liam stood in the doorway, adjusting the cuffs of his bespoke Armani suit. He looked tired. Even on the brink of his wedding to one of the most beautiful women in New York, Liam carried an air of resignation. He was 30 years old, but still looked like a boy waiting for permission to speak. Beatrice didn't look up from her desk. "Sure about what, darling?" "Inviting Sarah," Liam said, his voice tight. "It feels unnecessary. She's been gone for 3 years. Why drag her back into this? It might upset Chloe." "Chloe is a Kensington. She doesn't get upset over coffee girls," Beatrice snapped, finally raising her eyes. Her gaze was cold, sharp as cut glass. "And it is not unnecessary. It is closure. I want Sarah to see that you have moved on to better things. I want her to see what happens when you try to reach above your station. Besides, she probably won't even come. She doesn't have the money for a flight to New York, let alone a dress suitable for the St. Regis." Liam looked at the invitation sitting on the mahogany desk. "I loved her, Mum." "You thought you did," Beatrice corrected him, standing up and smoothing her silk skirt. "You were rebelling. Now you are merging. There is a difference. If she comes, she will see you happy and wealthy. It's a kindness, really. It will help her let go." Beatrice was lying. There was no kindness in her. She had hired a private investigator to find Sarah's address in a small town in Ohio just to send this invite. She wanted Sarah to stand in the back of the church and watch the life she could have had be given to someone else. Beatrice wanted to see the light go out in Sarah's eyes one last time. "Fine," Liam sighed, turning away. "Do what you want. You always do." The wedding was set for the following Saturday. The venue was the ballroom of the St. Regis, decorated with $50,000 worth of white orchids. The guest list included senators, tech moguls, and socialites. It was the event of the season. Beatrice spent the days leading up to the ceremony in a state of euphoric anticipation. She checked the RSVP list daily. When the card arrived from Ohio, marked with a simple "accepts," Beatrice laughed aloud in her empty hallway. "She's actually coming," Beatrice whispered to herself, sipping her scotch. "The little fool is coming to her own execution." She imagined Sarah showing up in a cheap department store dress, looking out of place. perhaps crying softly in a pew, while Beatrice looked on with pitying disdain. Beatrice prepared a few lines to say to her at the reception, condescending remarks disguised as pleasantries. "So brave of you to come, Sarah. I'm glad you could see Liam finally settled with his equal." Saturday arrived with a brilliant blue sky. The St. Regis was buzzing with security and press. Inside the bridal suite, Chloe Kensington sat before a vanity mirror, looking pale. She was a nice girl, perhaps too nice for the shark tank of the Sterling family, but she loved Liam. "You look beautiful, Chloe," Beatrice said, entering the room and placing a diamond necklace around the bride's neck. "This was my grandmother's. Now it is yours." "Thank you, Beatrice," Chloe whispered, touching the cold stones. Is Liam okay?" He seemed distant at the rehearsal dinner. "He's just nervous," Beatrice dismissed, waving a hand. "Men get cold feet. Mothers ensure they keep walking." Beatrice checked her watch. It was time. She made her way to the front row of the cathedral-style ballroom, taking her seat as the mother of the groom. She smoothed her dress and turned her head slightly, scanning the back rows. She was looking for Sarah. She didn't see her. The room was filling with high society guests in designer gowns and tuxedos. Beatrice felt a twinge of disappointment. Had Sarah lost her nerve? Had the girl realized she didn't belong here? The organ music began to swell, signaling the start of the processional. The heavy oak doors at the back of the room remained closed, waiting for the bride. Beatrice settled back, resigning herself to a victory without the show. At least Liam was marrying Chloe. That was the main prize. But then, just before the music shifted to the bridal march, the side doors near the entrance swung open. The heavy sound of wood hitting the wall echoed through the sudden silence of the room. Heads turned. Beatrice turned, and the smile froze on her face. The woman standing in the doorway was not the Sarah Miller that Beatrice remembered. The Sarah of 3 years ago had been a girl, soft, eager to please, wearing denim jackets and minimal makeup. The woman standing there now was a force of nature. Sarah stood tall, her posture impeccable. She wasn't wearing a cheap department store dress. She was wearing a tailored midnight blue cocktail dress that hugged her curves and screamed sophisticated elegance. Her hair, once loose and messy, was pulled back into a sleek, intricate chignon. She wore red lipstick that looked like war paint. A murmur rippled through the congregation. In a room full of old money, Sarah Miller looked like royalty. But it wasn't Sarah's dress that caused the breath to catch in Beatrice's throat. It wasn't her confidence. It was the 2 small hands she was holding. Standing on either side of Sarah were 2 toddlers, a boy and a girl, no more than 2 years old. They were dressed immaculately, the boy in a tiny tuxedo that mirrored the groom's, and the girl in a miniature dress of midnight blue lace. Beatrice felt the blood drain from her face. She gripped the back of the pew in front of her so hard her knuckles turned white. The children had curly dark hair. They had the distinctive sharp jawline that every Sterling man had possessed for 4 generations. And the boy had Liam's eyes. Not just the color, but the shape. The downward turn at the corners that gave him a perpetual look of thoughtfulness. They were undeniable. They were photocopies of Liam at age 2. "Oh my God," someone whispered in the row behind Beatrice. "Who are they?" Liam was standing at the altar, waiting for Chloe. He heard the commotion and the change in the atmosphere. He looked confused. He shielded his eyes against the lights and looked toward the back of the room. When his eyes landed on Sarah, his body went rigid. Sarah didn't stay by the door. She began to walk. She didn't walk down the center aisle. That was for the bride, but she walked down the side aisle with a slow, deliberate pace. The click of her heels on the marble floor seemed louder than the organ music, which awkwardly trailed off as the musician realized something was happening. Beatrice stood up. She had to stop this. She had to stop this now. "Security," Beatrice hissed, waving at a guard near the wall. "Remove that woman." But Sarah was already halfway to the front. She wasn't looking at Beatrice. Her eyes were locked on Liam. Liam took a step down from the altar. The colour had drained from his face, leaving him looking like a ghost. "Sarah?" he choked out. The guests were openly staring now. Phones were being raised. The private wedding of the year was being live-streamed to Instagram stories within seconds. Sarah stopped 10 feet from the front row. She looked at Liam. Then she looked down at the children. "Say hello to your father, Noah, Emma," Sarah said. Her voice was calm, clear, and carried through the silent hall like a bell tolling a funeral note. The little boy, Noah, looked up at the strange man in the tuxedo. He pointed a chubby finger. "Dada?" The word hit the room like a grenade. Chloe, who had been waiting in the vestibule, sensed the delay. She peeked through the main doors, her white dress rustling. She saw the scene, the woman in blue, the 2 children, and her fiancé, looking as if he had been struck by lightning. Chloe stepped fully into the room, her bouquet trembling in her hands. "Liam?" Chloe's voice was small, terrified. "Who is that?" Beatrice shoved past her husband and marched toward Sarah. Her panic had turned into a cold, defensive rage. She couldn't let the narrative slip. She had to discredit the girl immediately. "How dare you?" Beatrice spat, stepping between Sarah and Liam. "How dare you show your face here? And to bring borrowed children to a wedding? This is a shakedown. Security. Get this trash out of here." Sarah didn't flinch. She looked at Beatrice with a gaze so icy, it made the older woman pause. "Borrowed?" Sarah asked, arching a brow. She reached into her clutch. She didn't pull out a weapon, but something far more dangerous in Beatrice's world. She pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I didn't come to cause a scene, Beatrice," Sarah said, her voice raising just enough so the first 10 rows could hear. "I came because you invited me. You wanted me to see what I was missing, right? That's what the note said. Come see what a real legacy looks like." Sarah handed the paper toward Liam, not Beatrice. "But I thought it was only fair," Sarah continued, "that Liam sees the legacy he already has. The one you paid me $100,000 to abort." The gasp that went through the church was audible. Liam's head snapped toward his mother. "What?" Beatrice froze. The lie she had constructed 3 years ago was unraveling in seconds. "She's lying, Liam. She's a gold digger. She took the money and ran. She never told me she was pregnant." "I didn't take your money, Beatrice," Sarah said calmly. "I tore up the check, and I sent Liam a letter. I sent him 3 letters, telling him about the twins, telling him I wanted to make it work, even without the sterling money." Sarah looked directly at Liam, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears of old anger. "You never answered, Liam. So I assumed you agreed with your mother, that we weren't good enough." Liam walked down the remaining steps, ignoring the priest, ignoring his terrified bride. He approached Sarah and the children. He looked at Noah. The resemblance was terrifyingly accurate. He looked at Beatrice. "You told me she left me for another man," Liam whispered to his mother. "You told me she laughed at my proposal." "She did!" Beatrice shrieked, her composure cracking. "Liam, don't look at them. They are actors. It's a trick." Liam knelt down. He was eye level with the twins. The little girl, Emma, hid behind Sarah's leg, clutching the blue fabric. But Noah was brave. He reached out and touched Liam's expensive tie. Liam looked up at Sarah. "I never got a letter. I swear to God, Sarah, I never got a letter." "I know," Sarah said softly. "I figured that out about a year ago, when I saw a photo of your mother accepting a Philanthropist of the Year award." Sarah turned her gaze back to Beatrice, who was now trembling with rage. "You control his mail, don't you, Beatrice? Just like you control his career. Just like you chose his bride." Chloe let out a sob from the back of the aisle. Her father, the oil tycoon, Mr. Kensington, was already storming up the aisle, his face red with fury. "What is the meaning of this?" Mr. Kensington bellowed. "Sterling, explanation, now!" Beatrice tried to rally. She straightened her spine. "It is a scam, Robert, a common scam. We will have DNA tests done, and when they prove negative, I will sue this woman for every penny she—" "I have the DNA tests right here," Sarah interrupted. She pulled a second envelope from her bag. "And I have the copies of the certified letters I sent, which were signed for by B. Sterling." She held the documents up. "But we don't need paper, do we?" Sarah looked at the crowd. "Look at them." Hundreds of eyes shifted between Liam and the two toddlers. The silence was absolute. The truth was written in bone structure and eye color. Liam stood up. He held the DNA results in his hand, but he didn't look at them. He was looking at his mother with a mix of horror and hatred that Beatrice had never seen before. "You hid my children from me," Liam's voice broke. "I saved you!" Beatrice screamed, dropping the facade of politeness. "She was a barista, Liam. She was nobody. These children would have anchored you to mediocrity forever. I did it for the family name." "You destroyed the family name," Liam said. He turned his back on her. He looked at Chloe, who was weeping into her hands. "Chloe, don't," Chloe choked out. She pulled the diamond necklace from her neck, the Sterling heirloom, and threw it on the marble floor. It skidded, coming to a rest at Beatrice's feet. "The wedding is off." "Chloe, wait!" Beatrice lunged forward, but Mr. Kensington blocked her path, his chest puffing out like a bull. "Come near my daughter again, Beatrice, and I will buy your company just to dismantle it, brick by brick," he threatened. He put an arm around his sobbing daughter and led her out of the church. The guests began to whisper furiously. The press photographers were having a field day, flashes popping like fireworks. Beatrice stood alone in the center of the aisle, the rejected necklace at her feet. She looked at Liam, expecting him to come to his senses, to help her manage the crisis. "Fix this, Liam," she commanded, though her voice wavered. "Get rid of her." Liam looked at Sarah. He looked at his son and daughter. For the first time in his life, the fog of his mother's control lifted. "No," Liam said. "I'm leaving." "You can't leave. This is your wedding." "There is no wedding, Mother. You made sure of that." Liam reached out a hand, hesitating, toward Sarah. "Sarah, can we go somewhere? Please." Sarah looked at his hand. She didn't take it immediately. She hadn't come here to get Liam back. She had come for justice. But seeing the devastation in his eyes, seeing that he was just as much a victim of Beatrice as she was, softened her resolve. "We can talk," Sarah said. "But not here." Liam nodded. He didn't look back at his mother. He walked side by side with Sarah and the twins toward the exit. Beatrice was left standing in the ruins of her perfect event. The guests were staring at her, not with admiration, but with disgust. She had invited the ex to humiliate her, to show off her power. Instead, she had invited the wrecking ball that destroyed her son's life and her own reputation. But the story wasn't over. As Sarah walked out into the sunlight of Fifth Avenue, she knew that Beatrice Sterling was not a woman who accepted defeat. The war had just begun. The silence in the back seat of the taxi was suffocating. Liam Sterling, a man whose net worth was estimated in the hundreds of millions, sat squeezed between two child car seats in a cab that smelled faintly of pine air freshener and old cigarettes. Sarah sat in the front seat, staring out the window as the New York skyline blurred past. She hadn't spoken since they left the church. "Where are we going?" Liam asked quietly. He felt like an intruder in his own life. His tuxedo was stiff and uncomfortable, a ridiculous costume for a man whose world had just imploded. "My hotel," Sarah said without turning around. "It's not the St. Regis, but it has a door that locks." They arrived at a mid-range chain hotel near the airport. It was clean but modest, the kind of place Beatrice Sterling wouldn't even step into to use the restroom. Liam paid the driver with a black titanium credit card, his hand trembling slightly. Once inside the small room, the reality of the situation crashed down on them. The twins, sensing the tension, had gone quiet. Noah clutched a stuffed bear, and Emma sucked her thumb, watching Liam with wide, wary eyes. Liam stood by the window, loosening his tie. "Sarah, I don't know where to start." Sarah set her bag down on the bed. She turned to him, and for the first time, he saw the exhaustion beneath her makeup. "Start with the truth, Liam. Did you really not know?" "I swear it," Liam said, stepping forward. 3 years ago, my mother showed me photos. She had pictures of you with another man, a guy named Mark. She showed me bank transfers, money going from your account to his. She said you were laughing about how easy I was to manipulate." Sarah let out a bitter, hollow laugh. "Mark? My cousin Mark? The one who is gay and lives in Seattle? Beatrice told you I was sleeping with my cousin?" Liam felt the blood drain from his face. "She told me he was your secret fiancé from Ohio." "And you believed her," Sarah said. "It wasn't a question, it was an accusation. You didn't ask me, you didn't call." "I tried calling," Liam insisted. "Your number was disconnected. Because Beatrice paid the phone company to flag my account for fraud," Sarah shouted, her composure finally cracking. "Just like she got me fired from the coffee shop. Just like she threatened my landlord so I'd be evicted. I was pregnant, homeless, and alone, Liam. I had to change my number to get away from her private investigators who were following me everywhere." Liam sank onto the edge of the bed, putting his head in his hands. He looked at the twins. They were playing on the carpet now, oblivious to the fact that their father was falling apart. "I didn't know," he whispered. I thought you just didn't love me." Sarah's expression softened, just a fraction. She looked at the man she had once adored. He looked broken. The arrogance of the Sterling name had been stripped away, leaving just a man who had been a pawn in his mother's game. "Well," Sarah said, sitting next to him, but leaving a foot of distance between them. "Now you know. What are you going to do?" Before Liam could answer, his phone buzzed. It wasn't a text. It was a notification from his banking app. Then another. Then a flood of emails. Alert. Account ending in 8890 has been frozen. Alert. Credit limit reached. Alert. Security protocol Delta initiated by B. Sterling. Liam stared at the screen. "She's cutting me off." "Who? Mother?" "She's freezing the assets, the cards, the accounts, the trust fund, everything." Liam stood up, panic rising in his chest. He tried to log in to his main checking account. Access denied. His phone rang. The screen displayed simply, "Mother." Liam stared at it for a long moment. Then he put it on speaker. "Liam," Beatrice's voice was calm, terrifyingly reasonable. "I assume you have had your little tantrum. Now it is time to come home." "I'm with my family, Mother," Liam said, his voice shaking but firm. "Your family is here at the estate, doing damage control with the Kensington lawyers," Beatrice snapped. "That woman in the hotel room is a grifter, and those children, well, we will discuss the children. If they are indeed Sterling's, they cannot be raised in squalor. I have already spoken to Judge Halloway. We are filing for emergency custody on the grounds that Sarah is unstable and you are under duress." Sarah gasped. She lunged for the phone. "You touch my children, Beatrice, and I will kill you." "Ah, there she is," Beatrice purred. "A death threat. Recorded, of course." "Thank you, Sarah. That will play very well in family court. Liam, your cards are dead. Your car has been reported stolen. You have $0 to your name. Come home, sign the papers to annul this mess, and we can discuss a settlement for the girl. If you stay, you lose everything." The line went dead. Liam looked at Sarah. He looked at the phone in his hand, a device that was paid for by the company, which would likely be shut off remotely in minutes. "She's going to take them?" Sarah whispered, terror in her eyes. "She has the judges in her pocket. She has billions of dollars. She's going to take Noah and Emma." Liam stood up. A strange calm settled over him. For 30 years, he had been afraid of losing his money. He had been afraid of the cold, harsh world outside the Sterling bubble. But looking at his son's curly hair, he realized he was more afraid of something else. His children growing up in that cold, golden cage. "No," Liam said. "She's not taking anyone." He took off his tuxedo jacket and threw it in the trash can. He took off the diamond cufflinks and shoved them into his pocket. "We need to leave," Liam said. "This hotel was booked under my name. She knows we're here. She'll send security or the police within the hour." "Where do we go?" Sarah asked, grabbing the diaper bag. "I don't have money for another hotel." Liam looked at her. "Do you still have that old Honda?" "No, I sold it when the twins were born. I took the bus here." "Okay," Liam said, his mind racing. "Then we run. We go to the one place Beatrice won't look, the one place she thinks is beneath her notice." "Where?" "The boathouse," Liam said. "Not the yacht club. The old fishing shack my grandfather bought in Montauk before he made his fortune. Beatrice hates it. She hasn't been there in 20 years. It's off the books." Sarah looked at him, searching his face for any sign of the weak boy she had left 3 years ago. She didn't find him. She found a father. "Okay," Sarah said. "Let's go." The drive to Montauk took 4 hours in a rental car Sarah paid for with her debit card. The rain had started to fall, turning the highway into a slick, grey ribbon. Liam drove. He was silent, his eyes scanning the mirrors constantly, paranoid that his mother's private security detail was tailing them. The boathouse was exactly as Liam remembered, a small, weathered structure smelling of salt and damp wood, sitting on a lonely stretch of rocky beach. It was cold, but there was a fireplace. Liam spent the first hour chopping wood from the stack outside, while Sarah made a makeshift bed for the twins on the dusty rug, using blankets they had bought at a Walmart on the way. By midnight, the fire was crackling. The twins were asleep. Liam and Sarah sat on the floor, sharing a bag of pretzels and a bottle of cheap water. "This is a low point for the Sterling air," Sarah noted dryly, gesturing to the dusty ceiling. "This is the first time I've breathed freely in years," Liam countered. He looked at her in the firelight. The anger from the church had faded, replaced by a deep, aching regret. "Sarah, I need to know. How did you survive? With twins?" "Beatrice said you... She said you were living off the settlement money." "There was no settlement money," Sarah said quietly. "I worked. I waited tables until I was 8 months pregnant. Then I did medical transcription from home while the babies slept. It was hard. There were nights I didn't eat so they could have formula. But we were happy. We were free. Liam reached out and took her hand. This time she didn't pull away. I'm going to fix this, he vowed. I'm going to get my money back, my share of the company that my grandfather left me, and I'm going to make sure Beatrice can never threaten us again. How? Sarah asked. She locked you out. You can't even hire a lawyer. I don't need a lawyer, Liam said, his eyes hardening. I need evidence. Beatrice is meticulous, but she's arrogant. She keeps records of everything. Every bribe, every threat, every paid-off judge. She calls it her insurance policy. She keeps it in the wall safe in her office at the estate. You want to break into the Sterling estate? Sarah looked at him like he was crazy. That place is a fortress. I know the codes, Liam said. I installed the new security system myself last year. She thinks I'm incompetent with tech, so she let me handle the boring stuff. She doesn't know I built a back door into the network. It's too dangerous, Sarah argued. If you get caught, she'll have you arrested for trespassing. It gives her more ammo to say you're unstable. We don't have a choice, Liam insisted. She's going to fabricate evidence against you, Sarah. She's probably doing it right now. If we don't strike first, we lose the kids. The argument was cut short by a sound outside, tires crunching on gravel. Liam leapt up, kicking dirt onto the fire to dim the light. He went to the window and peered through the grime. A black SUV sat at the top of the driveway, its headlights cut. She found us, Sarah whispered, clutching Noah to her chest as the boy stirred. No, Liam said, squinting. That's not security. That's Uncle Julian. Liam opened the door cautiously. The man stepping out of the SUV was older, with silver hair and a kind, weathered face. He wasn't a blood relative. Julian was the Sterling family's long-time attorney and Beatrice's fixer. But he had always been kind to Liam. Julian, Liam called out. Get inside, Liam, Julian hissed, hurrying toward the shack with a briefcase under his arm. Before the satellite sweep picks up my car. Once inside, Julian looked around the dilapidated shack and sighed. Your grandfather loved this place. Beatrice wanted to burn it down for the insurance money in '98. Did she send you? Liam asked, positioning himself between Julian and Sarah. She told me to file the custody papers, Julian said. He placed the briefcase on the rickety table. She wants me to destroy you, Sarah. She gave me a file of fabricated medical records from a clinic in Mexico, claiming you're a drug addict. Sarah gasped. I've never been to Mexico. It doesn't matter, Julian said grimly. The documents look real. The judge she owns will accept them. So why are you here? Liam asked, his fists clenched. To serve us? Julian looked at Liam, his eyes sad. Because I knew your father, Liam. He was a good man. Beatrice broke him. I watched her do it. I won't watch her break you and these children. Julian opened the briefcase. Inside wasn't a lawsuit. It was a laptop and a stack of hard drives. Beatrice thinks I'm loyal because she pays me, Julian said. But she forgets that the person who buries the bodies knows where the graveyard is. He turned the laptop towards them. This is the server access to the main Sterling mainframe, Julian explained. But I can't decrypt the files. Beatrice uses a biometric key, a retina scan. The files that prove she bribed the judges, the files that prove she falsified Sarah's background checks, they are all behind that lock. We can't get her retina scan, Sarah said, defeated. She's miles away. Actually, Liam said, a strange look crossing his face. We might not need her eye. We just need the data she uses to verify it. Liam looked at Sarah. Remember when you said Beatrice is arrogant? She is. She commissioned a hyper-realistic oil portrait of herself last year. It hangs in the gallery. The artist was so obsessed with detail, he used high-res photography of her face to paint the eyes. "You think a painting can fool a retinal scanner?" Julian asked skeptically. "Not the painting," Liam said. "The source photos. The digital files are on the cloud server of the art studio. If I can hack the studio, I can get the high-res image of her iris." "And then?" Sarah asked. "Then we break into the digital vault," Liam said. "We don't need to physically go to the house. We can do it from here. But we have to be fast. Beatrice's tech team sweeps the system every morning at 4 a.m. It's 1:10 a.m. now." "If we fail?" Sarah asked. "If we fail, Julian goes to jail for treason against the firm, and we lose the kids," Liam said bluntly. Sarah set the sleeping Noah down. She walked over to the table and pulled up a chair. Her eyes were blazing with the same determination that had kept her alive for 3 years of poverty. "Okay," she said. "I know how to type fast. Tell me what to do." For the next 3 hours, the boathouse became a war room. Liam worked the code, sweating despite the cold. Sarah cross-referenced file names Julian provided. Julian monitored the security channels, listening for Beatrice's goons. "I'm in the art studio server," Liam muttered, his fingers flying. "Found the folder. Beatrice Sterling portrait ref. Downloading. Got it. Isolate the iris pattern. Converting to binary key." 30 minutes until the system sweep," Julian warned, checking his watch. "Injecting the key now," Liam said. He hit enter. The screen flashed red. Access denied. "It didn't work," Sarah whispered. "Wait," Liam said. "It's asking for a secondary authentication. Voice recognition." "We don't have her voice," Julian panicked. "We have the voicemail she left earlier," Sarah said instantly. She grabbed Liam's phone. She said, "Security Protocol Delta initiated. Is that a password?" "Try it," Liam said. Sarah played the recording into the laptop's microphone. Beatrice's cold voice filled the shack. The screen spun. A green loading bar appeared. "Access granted." "We're in," Liam breathed. Folders began to populate the screen. Thousands of them. Project Mercury, the Kensington merger, the Miller problem. "Open the Miller problem," Sarah commanded. Liam clicked it. Documents spilled open. There were photos of Sarah at the park, photos of the twins. But then there were other things. Receipts. Payment to Dr. Aris Thorne. Purpose. Falsified infertility diagnosis. Liam froze. He looked at Sarah. "She paid a doctor to tell you that you couldn't have kids." Sarah's hand went to her mouth. "Before I met you, I went to a specialist because of irregular cycles. He told me I was barren. That's why we weren't careful, Liam. I thought I couldn't get pregnant." "She set it up," Liam said, his voice trembling with rage. "She wanted us to be careless so she could catch you in a trap and call you a gold digger. She engineered the pregnancy scare, and then when it actually happened, she tried to destroy it." "Keep scrolling," Julian said. "Look at the dates." Liam scrolled down. "Payment to NYPD Precinct 4 Captain. Purpose: ignore harassment complaints filed by Sarah Miller." "She owns the police," Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. "I went to them when her PI was stalking me. They laughed me out of the station." "This is it," Julian said, his voice low. "This is RICO territory. Racketeering, bribery, fraud. This destroys her." "Copy it all," Liam said. "Send it to the cloud. Send it to the New York Times. Send it to everyone." Just as the progress bar for the upload hit 90%, the power to the boathouse cut out. The laptop screen went black. The room plunged into darkness. "They found us," Julian whispered in the dark. Outside, the roar of a helicopter overhead shook the flimsy roof. Searchlights blasted through the windows, blinding them. A megaphone boomed over the crashing waves. "This is private security. Come out with your hands up. You are trespassing on Sterling property." Liam grabbed the laptop. "Did it finish?" "I don't know," Sarah cried, shielding the twins who were now screaming in terror. The door to the shack was kicked open. Men in tactical gear swarmed in. Beatrice Sterling walked in behind them, wearing a trench coat and heels, looking like a general surveying a battlefield. "You really thought you could outsmart me in my own house?" Beatrice sneered, looking at the laptop in Liam's hands. "Seize them." "Run," Liam shouted, shoving the hard drive into Sarah's jacket pocket. "Take the kids and run." But there was nowhere to run. The room was full of armed men. Beatrice walked up to Liam and slapped him hard across the face. Then she turned to the guards holding Sarah. "Take the children to the limo," Beatrice ordered. "Take the mother to the police station. I'm pressing charges for kidnapping and corporate espionage." "No!" Liam screamed, struggling against two guards. "You can't do this." "It's already done," Beatrice said coldly. She looked at Sarah, who was fighting like a lioness as they tore Noah and Emma from her arms. "You should have stayed in Ohio, dear," Beatrice whispered to Sarah. "Now you lose everything." As the guards dragged a screaming Sarah out into the rain and the twins wailing for their mother, Liam was thrown to the floor, helpless. Beatrice picked up the laptop and smashed it onto the stone hearth of the fireplace. "Clean this up," she told Julian, glaring at him. "And you, traitor, you're next." Beatrice walked out, leaving Liam in the dark, the sound of his children's cries fading into the storm. The holding cell at the 4th Precinct smelled of ammonia, cold steel, and despair. Sarah sat on the thin wooden bench, hugging her knees to her chest. Her elegant blue dress, now wrinkled and stained, felt like a costume from a life she wasn't allowed to have. She had been processed like a common criminal, fingerprinted, mugshot taken. The charges were attempted kidnapping and grand larceny. Beatrice had spun a story so efficient and vicious that the police hadn't even let Sarah make a statement. She closed her eyes, but every time she drifted off, she heard Noah screaming for her as the guards dragged him away. She saw Emma's terrified face pressed against the glass of the limousine. "Miller!" a guard barked, rapping his baton against the bars. "Visitor!" Sarah looked up, a desperate hope flaring in her chest. "Liam?" "Lawyer," the guard grunted. He unlocked the cell door and led her down a fluorescent-lit hallway to a small interrogation room. Sarah expected a court-appointed public defender, someone overworked and tired who would tell her to plead guilty to avoid prison time. Instead, when the door opened, she saw a woman in a pristine white Chanel suit sitting at the metal table. It was Chloe Kensington. Sarah froze in the doorway. "You!" Chloe looked up. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and her makeup had been perfectly reapplied, but it couldn't hide the puffiness of betrayal. She didn't look angry at Sarah. She looked like someone who had survived a bomb blast and was now surveying the wreckage. "Sit down, Sarah," Chloe said, her voice devoid of its usual bubbly warmth. Sarah sat slowly. "Did you come to gloat? To tell me I ruined your wedding?" "You didn't ruin my wedding," Chloe said, opening a leather folder. "Beatrice did. You just turned on the lights." Chloe slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a bail receipt. "My father posted your bail," Chloe stated calmly. $500,000. You're free to go pending trial." Sarah stared at the paper, stunned. "Why? Your father threatened to destroy Liam at the church?" "My father hates being played," Chloe said, her jaw tightening. "Beatrice used us. She used my family's money to prop up her failing empire, and she used me as a broodmare for her dynasty. When I left the church, I went home and cried. Then I got angry. Then I read the statement Beatrice released. Chloe pulled out her phone. She's painting Liam as mentally unstable and you as a drug-addicted stalker. She's destroying both of you to save herself. She has the kids, Chloe. Sarah's voice cracked. She took them. I know, Chloe said. My father has sources. Beatrice has a private jet fueled up at Teterboro Airport. Flight plan filed for Zurich, Switzerland. Tonight at 8 p.m. She's going to hide them in a boarding school in the Alps. Sarah looked at the clock on the wall. It was 2 p.m. I have to stop her. You can't go to the airport, Chloe warned. You're a felon out on bail. If you get close to that plane, you'll be arrested again, and this time no one gets you out. So what do I do? Just let her take them? Sarah stood up, pacing the small room. No. Chloe stood up too. She reached into her designer handbag and pulled out a small, sealed plastic bag. Inside was the hard drive Liam had given Sarah in the boathouse. The police property clerk is on my father's payroll, Chloe explained with a vindictive smile. He retrieved your personal effects before they were logged into evidence. Beatrice thinks this drive was destroyed along with the laptop. She doesn't know you still have it. Sarah grabbed the drive, clutching it like a lifeline. This has everything. The bribes, the fake medical records, the police payoffs. Then let's use it, Chloe said. My family owns the New York Chronicle. If we get this data to the newsroom, we can ground that plane with a headline so big the FBI won't have a choice but to intervene. Meanwhile, at the Sterling estate, the atmosphere was funereal. Liam was locked in his old bedroom on the 3rd floor. The windows were reinforced glass, and the door was locked from the outside. Beatrice had taken no chances. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, calculating. The lock clicked, and the door swung open. Beatrice walked in. She looked immaculate, as if she hadn't spent the night hunting her son through a storm. The jet leaves in 6 hours, she announced, checking her diamond watch. I have hired a wonderful nanny service in Zurich. They specialize in difficult transitions. The twins will be well cared for. In time, they will forget the trailer park lifestyle and learn to be Sterlings. They aren't Sterlings, Liam said, not looking at her. They are Millers. They have Sarah's heart. You can't scrub that out of them. I can do anything, Liam, Beatrice said, walking over to smooth his hair. He flinched away violently. I built this family from the ashes of your father's incompetence. I saved you from a life of mediocrity. And one day you will thank me. Where is Sarah? In a cage, Beatrice said comfortably. Where she belongs. The charges are severe. She will likely be in prison until the twins are in college. By then they won't even remember her name. She turned to leave. Get dressed. You aren't coming to Switzerland, but you are coming downstairs for a Zoom meeting with the board. We need to show them you are stable. I'm not doing anything for you ever again, Liam said. Beatrice paused at the door. Oh, you will. Because if you don't play the part of the dutiful son, I will make one phone call to the prison, and Sarah will find that accidents happen very easily in general population. She smiled, a cold reptilian expression. Shower, Liam. You smell like poverty. The door slammed shut. The lock clicked. Liam stood up. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from a rage so pure it felt like clarity. Beatrice had made a fatal mistake. She thought she had broken him. She thought threatening Sarah would make him compliant. Instead, it had removed his last inhibition. He walked to the heavy oak wardrobe in the corner. He didn't open it to get clothes. He braced his back against the wall and kicked the wood paneling at the back of the wardrobe until it cracked. Beatrice had forgotten that Liam spent his lonely childhood hiding in the guts of this house. He knew the secrets of the estate better than she did. Behind the wardrobe was a narrow maintenance crawl space that ran the length of the house, intended for electrical wiring access. He squeezed through the splintered wood into the dark, dusty void between the walls. He crawled over fiberglass insulation and rat traps, moving toward the south wing of the house. He wasn't trying to escape outside. He was heading for the server room in the basement. If Sarah had the hard drive, she had the key. But Liam needed to open the door from the inside. He needed to crash the system that controlled the airport transfer and the security gates. "You want a war, Mother?" Liam whispered into the darkness. "I'll give you one." The New York Chronicle hit publish at 2:14 p.m. In Mr. Kensington's office, Sarah watched the upload bar turn green. Beside her, Chloe held up her phone, displaying a live feed of social media. "It's trending, Sarah. Sterling Crimes is already #1 worldwide. The audio of her bribing the judge has 1 million views in 10 minutes. Sarah didn't smile. She just stared at the clock. The truth is out. Now we have to stop the jet. At the Sterling estate, the atmosphere shifted from tense to catastrophic in seconds. Beatrice was in her study, barking orders at her terrified assistant to expedite the flight to Zurich when the room plunged into darkness. The hum of the air conditioning died. The electronic security gates groaned and disengaged. "What is happening?" Beatrice shrieked, fumbling for her phone. "The server," her assistant stammered, looking out the window. "The power to the mainframe, it's gone." Beatrice's phone exploded with notifications. Not calls from allies, but alerts from the Chronicle. She saw her own face plastered across the screen under the headline, "The Mother of All Lies. How Beatrice Sterling Bought the Law." "Get the children," Beatrice hissed, panic finally piercing her armor. "We leave now. Forget the luggage." She turned to the door, but her path was blocked. Liam stood in the doorway. He was covered in drywall dust, sweat streaking his face, a fire axe dragging loosely in his right hand. He looked nothing like the obedient son she had molded. He looked like a man who had burned his world down to save what mattered. "You aren't going anywhere, Mother," Liam said, his voice terrifyingly calm. "You cut the power." Beatrice stepped back, trembling. "You destroyed the house systems?" "I didn't just hack it," Liam said, dropping the axe. "I killed it. The police are already at the gate. The pilot of your jet just resigned after seeing the news. You're grounded." "I did this for you!" Beatrice screamed, her composure shattering. "I built this empire for you." "No," Liam replied. "You built a cage, and I just broke it open." Blue and red lights began to flash against the study walls, dancing through the heavy curtains. The sound of sirens wailed up the driveway, a cacophony of justice coming for the Sterling matriarch. "Federal agents!" a voice boomed from the foyer. "Search warrant!" Beatrice slumped against her desk, watching the door as armed agents swarmed the hallway. She looked at Liam, expecting pity. She found none. "Where are my children?" Liam demanded. "Nursery," Beatrice whispered, defeated. Liam didn't look back. He sprinted down the hallway, bursting into the nursery. Noah and Emma were huddled on the rug, confused by the noise. When Noah saw him, the boy's face lit up. "Dada!" Liam fell to his knees, scooping them both into his arms, burying his face in their soft hair, sobbing with relief. "I've got you. I've got you." 20 minutes later, the scene outside the estate was chaotic. News helicopters chopped the air above, while police held back a wall of reporters. A black sedan screeched to a halt at the perimeter. Sarah jumped out, ducking under the police tape. "Liam!" Liam was sitting on the bumper of an ambulance, wrapping a thermal blanket around the twins. He looked up, his eyes weary but filled with love. Sarah didn't run. She flew. She collided with him, wrapping her arms around his neck, pulling her shattered family back together. "They're safe," Liam choked out, holding her tight. "It's over." Behind them, Beatrice Sterling was led out of the front doors in handcuffs. She tried to hold her head high, but the cameras captured every inch of her ruin. She looked towards them, her son, the woman she hated, and the grandchildren she tried to steal. They didn't even look at her. They were too busy looking at each other, finally free. The morning sun didn't hit cold marble floors or gold chandeliers. Instead, it filtered through the linen curtains of a renovated farmhouse in upstate New York, illuminating a kitchen that was messy, loud, and bursting with life. Liam Sterling stood at the stove, flipping pancakes. He wasn't wearing an Armani suit. He was wearing a t-shirt covered in flour. He looked 5 years younger than he had on the day of his failed wedding. "Noah, stop feeding the dog syrup," Sarah laughed, walking in with 3-year-old Emma on her hip. It was a simple Saturday morning, the kind Beatrice Sterling would have sneered at. To Liam and Sarah, it was paradise. "Mail's here," Sarah said, dropping a stack on the counter. She froze when she saw a thick envelope with a familiar return address: Federal Correctional Institution, Danbury. The room went quiet. Liam turned off the stove. He took the envelope, seeing the jagged, shaky handwriting of his mother. "You don't have to open it," Sarah said softly. "I need to know it's really over," Liam replied. He ripped it open. Inside was a single photograph of Liam as a baby on Beatrice's lap. On the back, she had scrawled, "I made you." Even from behind bars, stripped of her fortune, Beatrice tried to claw her way back into his head. Liam looked at the photo, then at Sarah and the twins, who were happily eating, oblivious to the ghosts of the past. He walked to the trash can and dropped the photo inside. "She didn't make me," Liam said firmly. "She just named me." "We made this." Sarah smiled, radiant. "Are you okay?" "Never better," Liam replied. "Actually, I have something for you." He pulled a folded paper from his pocket. It wasn't a ring. She already had one of those. It was a deed. The deed to the old coffee shop where they had first met, which had closed down years ago. "I bought the building," Liam said, shrugging shyly. "You always wanted your own bakery, a place where people know your name, not your net worth. It's yours." Tears filled Sarah's eyes. She threw her arms around him. "You are crazy." "I'm free," Liam corrected, kissing her. That evening, they sat by the lake at the edge of their property, watching Noah and Emma chase fireflies. Far away, in a cold, grey cell, Beatrice Sterling sat alone, ruling over a kingdom of dust. She had won every battle but lost the war. But here, in the golden light of sunset, the family she tried to destroy stood together, unbroken and truly rich. And that is the story of how a cruel mother's arrogance became her own undoing. Beatrice Sterling thought money could rewrite reality and erase her own grandchildren to keep up appearances. But she forgot the most important rule: the truth always comes out. It's terrifying to think how close Liam came to living a lie. It took Sarah's immense courage to walk into that church and demand justice. Beatrice ended up with nothing but her pride and a prison cell, while Sarah and Liam found the only wealth that actually matters: a loving family. What do you think? If you were in Sarah's shoes, would you have had the courage to crash the wedding, or would you have walked away? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story of justice and karma, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a new story. Thanks for watching.